Please, yeah.
You all look like veterans and you've been here many times, yeah? Is anybody new? Yes. Oh, welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you. So, do you have to put on the phone? Is that okay? Om Gyananandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya
Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Swapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Adati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrinatam Sahagana Bhagavatam Hitam Sajivam Salvetam Salvadutam Parijanasitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagamatam Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sudhu Devi Prananam Puripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these prayers are very nice to recite before we actually do any activity, because actually we're begging for the, for everyone, like Krishna, the Chaitanya, all the parampara, for the mercy of actually being able to speak these exalted scriptures. So even though we're actually qualified, but through Srila Prabhupada's purports and his teachings, at least we can speak something of some understanding. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so my name is Jaga Mohini, and I've been invited here, so thank you very much for inviting me. We're actually from the Soho temple in central London. And my friends, we actually had an ecstatic day distributing books in Canterbury. Very nice, lots of nice people stopping and actually taking some books and leaflets. Hopefully they'll sort of come at some point. So I'm going to be reading from, I don't think it's gadget, but I'm going to be reading from chapter 2, verse 241, okay, which is context of the Gita summarized from the Bhagavad Gita. And Vyasa Vyasvidmagbuddhi Ekeha Kuranandana Bahu Shakha Hi Anantascha Buddhayo Vyavasya Ninam. I go straight in the translation if that's okay. Those who are on the path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one, O beloved child of the Kurus. The intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavyasanika, intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 2262 states, Shraddha Shrabdi Vishva Kahe Sutri Nishchaye Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sevakami Krita Hui. Faith means unflinching, trusting something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world, with obligations to family traditions, humanity or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or past deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need not longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudabala. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative for Krishna, who knows the nature of the student, who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to the well-versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for spiritual master as follows: Yasha Prasada Bhagavad Prasada Yasha Prasada Nagati Gatopi Dayan Stusam Tasya Prista Sanjam Vande Guru Suchanavantahindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied, and by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There's lots of points here, and I always look to the last sentence of Prabhupada's purports, because it always is like some instructions going on when he says one who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. So when we was in Canterbury today, it's a great place, a great time on a Saturday to actually go out to the shoppers and give Krishna conscious to them. Because why? Because their mind is diverted to fruitive activities like, going shopping for. Actually, we stopped one lady today. She looked very nice, and she stopped, and she had this big box like this. And so Julia said, "There's shoes in there." And she goes, "No, it's my hat." We go, "Where are you going to go with your hat?" She said, "Well, my son, I've been invited by the Queen to have some afternoon tea with her." I was like, "Wow, what did you do for that?" She said, "Well, my son is in the guards. He's one of the guards in the Buckingham House in somewhere central London." And she said, "Would you like to take?" "No, she haven't got time." So we can see how easily we're diverted in the way of the path, where so many signs, especially like she's been stopped by a devotee, to actually say, "Please come, come and try this out." But still, no, her mind's thinking, "No, I want to be with my son and the family." As Prabhupada says back way he says that we want to, namely be family, society, country, and nationality. This is where we lie right now. It's like before we come to Krishna consciousness, we want to serve all of them. But when we say we all often have conversations in the temple about service, especially when like lots of new people come and we say, you know, like service, oh, what's this? But you know, we say, but we're already serving someone, isn't it? Who do you think we serve? You serve your husband, you serve your wife, you serve your children, you serve your grandparents, you serve your nation, bosses, anybody else? Dogs, yeah, cats. People like cats. Often, like you see.
I think Bob Dylan in one of his songs they say, you might be anything, whether the president of the United States, but you still have to serve somebody.
Yes, absolutely.
So
it's nothing new when we say this, you know, to serve, because often, like, you know, like when you can see like people's minds ticking over, and you know, even mine, like service, you know, like, but then we realise actually we are serving all the time, you know, so it's nothing new. So yeah, that's one point. So I made some notes here, and even to opening the purport of the verse, unpacking this verse, Prabhupada says, a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life. So, but it just seems like hard, yeah. The highest, you know, like what we need to do, you know. So, going into the translation, he says, resolute in purpose. Does anybody know what resolute means? Anybody can establish what resolute means?
it means the resolute.
Unflinching faith.
Unflinching faith, yes. Determined. Yes. Determined in something that we're doing. And Prabhupada says there's some determination. It's having some determination to do something. So yeah, so it's unswerving, so it's fixed. You know, it's determined to be able to focus on something. So this verse is actually, I was listening to a class by His Holiness Raghunath Swami, and he says that actually this verse, you can apply it to anything in your life when we really look at it. So you could actually apply it to everything and anything. That was pretty amazing. So faith is a result of determination, you know. So we look at to know what is determination. What's determination? What things can we determine?
Not to give up.
Yeah.
If you're convinced of something, following it regularly.
Regularly following something through. So we're determined to do one pointedness. Anybody else? Very nice. Yes. So determination is actually to be able to conquer something, to be fixed in what we're actually doing. So one must conquer the lower self with the higher self. So the whole purpose of of the Bhagavad Gita is actually, it talks about the modes of the material natures. It's all about this material world. How do we conquer that? How do we get over that? So it actually saying we need to you know, conquer this lower energy to become higher, to get this higher taste. This way. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. So our intelligence is not what we think our intelligence is, it's the acceptance of God. You know, it's very difficult. When I was first coming, you know, like we hear the word God, and for me it was difficult to say, because I come from a family that, you know, say that I was born in a sort of a Christian family, but we never really practiced it. So God was never a household name. He was never a household name. So it was like when I was coming, I was like, oh God, you know, like I have to say this word, and it was hard in the beginning. But actually, when you in association of those that are actually practicing, and then he has a name, he's a person. I was really thrilled to hear that his name, you know, we call him Krishna in the Hare Krishna sign. I was like, wow, he has a name, you know. So it became more sort of, I was becoming more fixed and focused in my determination of actually wanting to, you know, have this higher taste. So, faith means something beyond our sense perception. What does that mean? Faith is beyond our sense perception. So what's happening with us right now is that we just, the material, in the materialness, we only see what we see. We don't see beyond what this material world is giving us. So it's beyond that. So the faith has to come from this, beyond this sense perception. But it's difficult, right? You find it difficult to understand this, that because we don't see with our eyes and feel these things, it becomes to think what is beyond our sense perception. So this is something that it's your faith which you're hearing from God. So that's beyond our sense perception. Then your faith is beyond your senses. You think, wow, what does that mean? You know, it's beyond the senses. So we have these material senses, but because we're using these material senses for everyday thing, we don't actually think beyond that. So Krishna is showing that actually I'm here beyond your senses. So if you're dependent on a physical proof, then you limit your perception. Like the scientists.
Is it like we focus on the material world and not going to know more than that?
Yeah. Because we're just seeing in our, just like we're seeing in our little environment, so we don't see beyond that. So we have we see in the material, so the material, like I have to wear glasses, so I have to put the glasses on so I can actually see. So if I can't see beyond. I mean, I can see the clock, but I can't see the numbers on the clock. So, but when I put my glasses on, I can see. So it's like that. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually showing that this is beyond the senses. This is, this is pure sort of absolute truth. This is Krishna speaking. So and it's not actually by seeing, it's by hearing. What we hear is what we can actually see. So by his words in this way. So faith has to become your senses. So Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining beyond the perception. Who reads the Srimad Bhagavatam? Anybody? Srimad Bhagavatam?
Yeah, we just started.
Yeah, nice. So we have the ABC, which is the Bhagavad Gita, and this is Krishna speaking personally. So he's speaking to us through Arjuna. And how was the Bhagavad Gita spoken? Anyone know?
In the Kurukshetra war.
Yes, it speaks about the Kurukshetra, but before that, why was it spoken? There's one particular,
Because Arjun was attached to his family and he had to fight with his family.
That's right. But it came from the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
So the Mahabharata, the two families come, and Krishna really wanted the Bhagavad Gita to be spoken, and so what he did, there was the Pandavas and the Kurus, and Pandava, their father died and was looked after the uncle, the five, and then they came back and they wanted the land back because they were small, so the uncle had to actually look after them, and so they come, and then the cousin said, no way, not even a pinprick of land will you have. So Krishna pleaded to the Kurus, please, can I, please give them, and he wouldn't. So then there had to be the war, and this is where on the Kurukshetra Bhagavad Gita was spoken in this way. So So then the Srimad Bhagavatam is the book where it actually speaks about the personality of Krishna. So we can see beyond the perception through the Bhagavad Gita by hearing. So we see that, what actually happens to, who he plays with, what he likes to eat. So then in this way, down here, when we're learning about how to become sort of more conscious of Krishna, we're able to do it in the activities that we have. So that we don't have to change anything, we just add Krishna. So the activities are already here. So that then they become spiritualized. So like we could just be playing the harmonium and playing some sort of like rock song, okay, with the harmonium, you know, which is just a normal sort of rock song you get on the pop charts, the radio. But then when we start to use it for God's pleasure, in like we were singing Jaya Radha Madhava and Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then it becomes beyond perception, sense perception, because then we come into the absolute of actually being spiritual. So you could have material, spiritual in this way. How long do we have?
20 minutes or something?
20.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
Yeah.
But you can ask questions as you go on. Is that right? Okay. So scientists explain that is in your perception, so in accordance with what they tested themselves. So this is what the scientists do. They just see what's in, like you have a laboratory and then you're doing some tests and that's the result. They don't see beyond that. So accordance of their testing themselves. So this is a test of your faith. Okay, you must choose. The faith keeps us secure in what we're doing. How to preserve our faith, resolute, strong conviction that I want to be fixed to serving my spiritual master. So you know, in the purport, Prabhupada says, he speaks in quite length about the resolute purpose of Krishna, and he sort of talks about how can we do that, and that's by practice under the guidance of a spiritual master. Because we, as we say, we don't see, because we're bound, as they say, by foot and hands, because as we don't see, but the spiritual master sees the truth. He sees beyond that. So he's actually giving us the guidance on that and how to see. So you're talking about that. So there's a story about. Does anybody know the story about Arjuna and Dronacharya and the bird? The birds of the eye.
Jatau.
What's that?
Jatau was the name of the bird.
Yes. It's actually it's not a real bird. It's where they got. Do you know that
It's
story?
about testing their whatever the
Archery.
lessons we teach in the
Archery.
archery.
Yeah. Do you know the story?
Yeah.
Want to say? Do you remember?
Yeah. I know a little bit of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but
One day they were testing the Pandavas and Kauravas. When they were small, they were taking the test. Dronacharya was taking the test, and everybody said that nobody could see the bird. Everybody could just see something else. But when Arjun came, he said, I can only see the bird, and then I can see the bird's eye.
Very good. Yeah, very nice. Yes. So what happened was Dronacharya is the teacher, the royal teacher of the Pandavas and the Kurus, and he went to train in the art of including archery. And he wanted to test his students with stuffed toy birds as each. So there's Yudhisthira, Bhima, Nakula, Sabhadeva, and Arjuna, and also Duryodhana. So Dronacharya wanted to aim the bow and arrow to the bird, and he called them in turn. So he called Yudhisthira, and he asked him, okay, he said, but before you actually let the arrow go, he said, what do you see? And he said, I see you, I see my brothers, I see the tree, I see the bird. He said, you're going to have to drop that. He said, next. So he was going like that. He said, and he went to Duryodhana, what do you see? I see you, I see my cousins, and I see the tree, and I see the bird. Out. Bhima's the same, he's out. And so he said to the twins, like Nakula, and he said, so what do you see? I see you, and I see the brothers, and I see my cousins, and I see the, drop the bow out. Arjuna, come. So he calls Arjuna and says, so what do you see? I only see the eye of the bird. He said, shoot. And this is what this means, resolute in purpose, means that he's fixed on the eye. I mean, I used to train to become an athlete, when I was younger, and I was training in those swimming pools and to become a swimmer. So I was 8 or 9, and it was quite tough. They were quite strict, these teachers. I mean, for a 10-year-old, I just wanted to splash around. I just didn't want. I wasn't interested in these things. But as I progressed in the training of the swimming, you had to get up a certain time, you had to do certain things, and you had to do this. You had to be on time for that, and you had to do this stroke, and you had to practice this stroke, and you had to practice this stroke, and you had to practice this stroke, and back again, practice this stroke, no, start again, practice this stroke. And I was like, wow, I can't do this, too much. And you had to be really fixed. And one time I missed the training one day, and they said, you can't come next time because you missed. They were really strict, so I didn't bother going again. So I wasn't very much sort of strict in my purpose, determined to be a swimmer. So, in anything we do, anything practice you really want to do, even competitions, even what we're doing, we have to be focused. Otherwise you just see the brothers, you see the tree, you see the birds, you don't see the finish line, because all you're thinking of when you're swimming is to see that. One is to go off you ever seen these, their stands, and you just dive off and off you go, and then you just see, all you see is the person at the end, back, the person at the end, and then you see the finish line. And that's all you need to see, is like, you're like that. When you're swimming, it's like this, you're fixed in this way, but you can't help but see what everyone else is doing, and you lost the game because you slowed down and wasn't fixed in purpose. So in a similar way, when we're doing anything, we should try to be fixed and resolute in purpose. So this is what Prabhupada is actually telling us here, to be in Krishna consciousness, we can actually be fixed in purpose. But it takes some practice. And this is what Prabhupada says, gradually we come to the point where we practice and we get the taste for something, and we practice even more focus on what we're actually doing. Yeah, I like that story. So if you want to become Krishna conscious, you have to be like Arjuna, seeing only the birds are resolute and purpose fixed in spiritual life in this way. So our goal is the lotus feet, which is coming through the instructions of a spiritual master. And Guru means heavy. Heavy means like, we had a class today by a Kura Guru, he was there today, and he's like a coach, he's a life coach, and he was telling many things. And he was telling that actually a teacher, and even if it's not in Krishna consciousness, a teacher are quite heavy, because like you go to school, right? You go to school, the teacher's heavy at times when you're not paying attention, isn't it? They get heavy, and if it's heavy, they say, right, detention, is it? So it's detention, or you get lines or something. I can never get the lines and having to do these things or staying behind school. So they're heavy. Why? It's because they want you to learn and be fixed and focused in practicing, wanting to get some good education. So it means heavy. What Guru says doesn't mean body, it means the body is where the message is, the transmission of his message that comes through. So in the way that we do, we call it the parampara. So it's like from teacher to guru down in this way. So the sound of the message is the same. Sound vibration of God's words. Krishna is heavier of the heaviest. This is why Guru is heavy. So Bhakti is the only power that can conquer God. So it's love and devotion. There's the verse, isn't there, in the 9:26, with the offering of love and devotion, and the leaf, water, fruits. So leaf, water, fruits. Yeah. Then I will accept it. This is a really nice verse to really think about, and it's not actually the activity that we're actually doing. All the activities are there, but the activities are there as such as to focus us on, what we're actually doing. But it's actually not even the activity he's actually interested in. He's actually interested in our love and devotion. How we do. This is what he's interested in. He's not interested in the results of it. He's just interested in our love. I go to schools, and schools come to me, and we do like these little things we do in the schools, because they want to hear about what we do in the Hare Krishna temple, in Hinduism as a whole, but we speak about different subjects. And it's I forgot where I was going with that now. Yeah, but the kids come and they just love it in this way, that oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. So I often tell them that, like when the parents, when you've done something, like little jobs around the house, they give you a little pocket money, or they just say, just have some pocket money anyway. I don't know how much you get these days, but it was like 10p or 50p in my time. It was a lot of money then. So one time I went and got my mum some flowers because I really felt that she was a little bit sad and she needed cheering up. She gave me the money and I went and got her some flowers. Here, it's like, you can have some flowers because I felt it. She goes, oh, thank you so much. This is really nice. I really like them. But because it's for my love and devotion, even though she paid for her own flowers, she didn't care about the flowers, the money. But she just felt that love coming from me that I'd actually bought some flowers out of her money. Okay. So human life is very rare, and the place that we're actually in is what we call tapasya, which is austerities. So there has to be some austerity when we do something, even if we're not sort of Krishna conscious, there's always austerities that we actually perform to actually get something. But that's the nature of this world, is austerities. But when we actually perform in this way, we get some real sort of pleasure out of doing something, even though it's tough. We're talking about, what we ever do. I was talking about swimming. It's an austerity to do that, But if it's done in a way that we do it for Krishna, then it's a real pleasure, We don't really worry about the austerity, how it feels. So by practice and determination, faith, it becomes real. Beginning there's faith. So the final result is not tapasya, it's the higher taste. So make Guru your life and goal. So this is actually what Prabhupada's telling you. You have to make our teacher, our Guru, our life and goal. So even if we don't have, like living Guru, we have Srila Prabhupada is a Guru as well, as our grandfather, who's actually teaching us through the books, his teachings. So if we just follow the instructions in this way, then we'll always be in a healthy state in our living. So like I say, we don't actually need to actually change anything, we just add one person, and that's Krishna himself, because the activities are all there, and it's just that we spiritualize it. Material things become spiritual, like this is wooden, but it's actually spiritualized because we're actually using it for the purpose of spirituality. But it's difficult sometimes to contemplate or understand that in this way. And he also said in his teaching here that by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. And similarly, by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service. So by watering our spiritual life, it permeates out when we don't actually see it. I mean, I've started to see a little bit where my family, they were never very favourable in the beginning, but now, they come to the temple and I'm like, wow, and I'm not doing anything, I'm just doing what I do, and they just see that you're happy. It's this most intimate and deep happiness that they see, and they're they're like, wow, why are you so happy? And they say, well, you have to try the science, and what I'm doing is actually making me happy. So they actually see that. Okay, so is there any questions? The Bhagavad Gita is a really nice book to actually study, because it is like the guidebook to life. So it actually has the problems, because Arjuna is actually, he's actually Krishna's cousin, but he's actually doing it for the sake of us, to actually come more closer to spiritually, to come more closer to Krishna, and to become more happy. So whatever we actually read in here, or study in the Bhagavad Gita, which means the Song of God, it actually, you have the problem, and Krishna gives you the solution, and it's whether you want to take that solution or not. You're not actually bound to do that. You actually have that free will to actually either take this instruction or not. And this is the beauty of actually spiritual life. We can actually take, and it's actually here written for us to actually follow. It's a guidebook to life.
How do you not see the cousins in the tree and everything around the eye of the bird? How do you not get distracted?
It's very difficult to be, because I was talking about it's practice. I was speaking about the athletes, and I was also in that sort of game. It's very difficult in the beginning to not do this, but if you really want something, you'll just focus on the finishing line. You see, but it takes time. It's not like overnight, and it actually takes time to actually do that. He's sort of resolute and focused on doing that, because the instruction was in that actually I can just see that eye of the bird. But it does take practice. But it's a beautiful practice, and it's a process that's really beautiful, because it actually strengthens our spiritual muscles. It's like going to the spiritual gym, and practicing the muscles, and in this way you become more focused. But it's down to discipline as well, and determination. Because disciple actually needs discipline. But through the practice of actually following instructions of spiritual master, you become more focused.
Yeah, you have done that. It was very helpful for me to associate with people who are fixed. That was very amazing. When on book distribution my first times, I get frustrated after 10 minutes, like, I can't do it. But then you see that the seniors, they just keep going. It's raining, it's snowing, it's windy. They're so fixed. They can do that. And then you make friends with them, and then, because you're always with them, then actually they give the mercy that somehow you can deliver. Not one day you're fixed as well. So
it's like the athletes, they come together and they train together. So it's whoever you associate with, It's your association. Just check out yourself and your association, and look to other seniors. Who's actually serious in this. Looking, if you want to, really fixed, you look at this serious.
Okay, so what happens? What happens if you're associating with people that are, like not so good, not such a good influence, but you? Because on one level we know in our mind what we should and shouldn't do, but we don't always. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not
like
easy.
Sai obviously knows how to be good, but he's in detention every day at school. That's another thing. You know what I mean? I'm wondering how do you? Sometimes you know what to do, but you can't make that decision sometimes.
Yeah. So it's good advice to take someone that knows, like Guru. Is the best person, or somebody that that you can trust, that you can speak to, like a mentor or something like that. Because it's easily, you can easily get sidetracked, and often I'm speaking to my seniors to actually say that, what to do about this, and they guide you in the right way. It's whether you take it or not. But it's not easy, especially if you it's like when often they say what's favorable and unfavorable in the nectar of instruction. It says those are not difficult. Then, however, we want people to come, so we give the association. You see, they say to give the association, but not to take the association. But if it becomes that difficult, then take advice of Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. Is always the best. If check the Shastra, then check the Guru and Sadhu, and if it matches, then just do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Karna is one such example.
Sorry?
Karna in Mahabharata. He himself is a very good person with good principles and all. He's with the wrong association. He's with
he was Queen Kunti's son.
Hema was just saying that to me a few days ago, actually. Hema was just giving that same example a few days ago. Very pious, a good person, but he hung out with the wrong people and it spoiled everything.
And Grandpa and Vishnu as well, they took money, didn't they? That's why they were the Kurus. Although they were good, good people, but they chose to stick by their word, Yeah, so the actual Shastras can actually also go, because we were talking about Shastra, there's many in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita that gives you those that are very good in personality, but in the wrong association. But usually they take advice from, it's usually like Lord Chaitanya or someone who gives advice. That's what you do, that's what you're not doing.
There was some reason why Karna stayed with Kaurava, isn't it? He had to pay back something. What was that?
I think Duryodhana was the only one who gave him any time and care. I can't remember the exact story, but he went to...
He will in a fight, I think, there will be a fight. He will see him, Duryodhana, and he will offer him the Angadesh, like one king, he will become a king. Because he will be brought up by a tribal people, when she will Ganga, Kunti will leave him, then he will feel that somebody, if he is a bad person also, let me take his shelter. Then from there I can grow with the Duryodhana. From his association, he will, and he knows only Karna can beat Arjuna, because Karna is more stronger in the archery than Arjuna. That's what he wanted to take benefit from Karna, Duryodhana. Then he gives him Angadesha, which is a big kingdom. From there he will be with Duryodhana.
Wasn't it because Drona wouldn't teach him?
Sorry?
Drona.
I think there was some background.
He refused to teach Karna, and Karna was really
furious,
devastated. And Duryodhana reached out and helped him. I think is that right?
Yeah, there was some background.
And he always felt indebted because, somebody was one kind person has come to you and the rest reject you.
That he had to pay back.
So that was his entanglement there. It was quite dutiful in a sense.
Yeah, so I think his nature was to pay back somebody who has done a favor, and that's what made him to stay with wrong side, which
It was deeper than choosing that association. It was more complex. I think that's what he's saying.
Nice, thank you for sharing.
Perfect.
Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Association of all the wonderful Canterbury devotees ki
Jai. Jaga Mohini Mataji ki Jai. Hare Bol. Thank you.